Thank you for joining and welcome. I'm going to start with the foundations portion of this webinar and get your head in the Azure cloud with me. And then I'm going to transition over to Gidget Pryor, who will take us the rest of the way to the finish line. My name is Debbie Utek, as Maura had just announced, and I am a marketing manager here at Microsoft in our Worldwide Learning organization. Today, I want to show you how Microsoft certifications for Azure can help you ensure that people in your organization or you as an individual have the skills needed to meet the challenges of today's cloud-based digital world. To understand Azure certifications, you need to know three things. First, how building the right skills on Azure can help you embrace digital transformation. So we're going to talk a bit about digital transformation today. How Microsoft training works, along with the role for Azure certifications as part of the whole package and how they're aligned together. Then how to identify the right certifications based on your current role or the role that you want in the future. And Gidget will talk more about that aspect of how to get started and the resources with global knowledge to train and prepare for certification. So to set the context, let's start with the role of the Microsoft Cloud in digital transformation. Now, I'm sure you would agree that the world a year ago, none of us could have predicted where we would be now. Companies working remotely, our children also learning remotely, and the fact that we are still in the thick of this very unprecedented time, even still today. During this current global economic climate and time of uncertainty, the biggest learning is that no business is immune to crisis, and no business or organization is immune or is 100% resilient. But what it's also taught us is that digital businesses and those fortified with some digital capabilities have been able to pivot and to more rapidly respond to their customers' needs. This resilience and the ability to adapt quickly to changing conditions has become one of the hallmarks of the success in today's environment. Organizations that have already embarked in their transformation journey are seeing these benefits. And every organization in every industry will increasingly need to embrace digital transformation and the tech intensity that comes along with it in order to be successful. In fact, from a report done by the Information System Audit and Control Association, 9 out of 10 enterprises are attempting digital transformation as they look to spark innovation and explore efficiencies. So, how does Microsoft talk to our customers about all of this? Because I think it helps set the stage for why training is important. When we talk to our customers about digital transformation and being best in class, we talk about the context of purpose. Now more than ever, organizations are seeing a need for a higher calling or a purpose that animates their organization and guides their transformation journey. All the technology that we discuss has to enable the same purpose. The organization needs to be working together for that purpose. So the first element of this is vision and strategy. What is the North Star and what are they working towards? How do they visualize and how will they realize that vision? The second element is a company's culture. We see that organizations are best able to go through a transformation when the people inside are unified and working with a shared value and ideas, their core culture. The third element is a unique potential enabling a company to respond and adapt today more easily by identifying and unlocking their unique assets. What are their core competencies? And then finally, organizations that are doing the best thinking about this and continually developing a wide range of capabilities. Capabilities are where all of us can have an impact in our companies. Capabilities are the key part of a company's success in digital transformation. Why? The combination of an organization's tech intensity and the people who drive that tech intensity and digital transformation are critical to success. For Microsoft, this is where we have a unique offering with our cloud products to help strengthen their digital footprint, specifically the technology they leverage to power that transformation. For partners like Global Knowledge, they offer huge value here by providing the skilling to both individuals seeking new roles and people within companies so that they can fully leverage the technology investment that they're making and be ready for the tech intensity of a new digital world. So when we talk about Microsoft technology, we're talking about the Microsoft Cloud. Our goal at Microsoft, as you've probably heard since you're in the technology world, our goal at Microsoft is to empower every individual and every organization on the planet to achieve more. In this next revolution, growth is being driven by technology. And you see that very clearly in this current pandemic that we're in. Our integrated cloud approach creates unmatched platform for digital transformation. We address the real-world needs of our customers by seamlessly integrating Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Azure to unlock business value for every organization, from small family-run businesses all the way to large enterprise customers. The backbone of this and foundation of this Microsoft Cloud approach is Azure. So what is Azure? If you haven't looked at Azure in a while, you may be surprised to see the robustness of it. Here is a high-level map of the class of services that we offer. We currently have more than 200 products and services. You will notice we've extended to the edge where the devices are. Azure gives you the ability to run an application code in the cloud, but also in the consistent way in the edge. Whether you're using Azure Stack or Azure Sphere, all the way to HoloLens and our mixed reality capabilities. These are powerful edge devices that work in connection with the cloud. You'll see that we offer dev tools, DevOps, and great innovation to the core infrastructure and PaaS services. Overall, this gives you the scope of what Azure as a platform and a service can do for you. Now, the cloud is moving fast. Over the past year, we have launched more than 1,000 capabilities across AI to blockchain to Kubernetes to containers and databases and more to ensure we're keeping ahead of the curve. This fact really highlights the importance of training and certification. So let's look at a couple examples from real customers bringing Azure to life. I think these examples really help me get my head around it. So what you see here is a customer story. On the left side, you can see the customer, any partners they worked with, industry, and then what's most interesting to me anyway is the products and services they used to build the solution that we're talking about. So here, this is the Moneris portfolio risk management team. They complete more than 1,000 risk assessments a day based on 25 to 60 key risk indicators. These indicators are then used to report on the performance of a company's portfolio at both an amalgamated and account level. Transitioning from on-premise data centers to Azure and aided by AI, Moneris has created new workflows for a high-risk in, first out model. The workflows assess the risk level based on indicators and then prioritize events in a fully automated process. The higher risk events are expedited for review by the team, while low risk events are scored based on a model and automatically reprofiled as appropriate. As a result, the company is now able to assess a much higher volume of its risk exposure while maintaining its staffing numbers and focus its experts on evaluating the complex cases. These methods have improved turnaround times, reduced the portfolio's residual exposure, and granted the company's portfolio manager unified insights into these risks. A quote, you see a quote there on the screen from Mr. Salvador Watts. Another quote that's in the white paper that I liked a little bit better than that one says, in the past, we operated as a sort of siloed assembly line in terms of deploying new services. With Azure, we're all essentially subject matter experts now. Projects that were once slated for multi-year endeavors can now be completed in a matter of weeks. So I love that quote. I think that really brings home what Azure's been able to do for them. Now with the holiday season, I thought it would be great to use one that is near and dear to a lot of people's heart. This is from North American and Aerospace Defense Command, and they have a Santa tracker. So with this Santa tracker, that they've been doing this for over 65 years, or this will be the 66th year. The NORAD Santa or Track Santa program has added extra excitement to the holidays for children around the world. But can you imagine the volumes have gone up a year every year, and now there's the desire to also be mobile and track Santa on phones and tablets. So this has been a huge worry for the team to sustain when traffic increases substantially. Microsoft Fast Track for Azure team volunteers refreshed the Santa Tracker website, moving it from IaaS to a PaaS model, hosting it on Microsoft Azure Blob Storage, and providing resilient access with Azure Front Door and a host of other Azure technologies and services. So despite 2 billion hits in the last holiday season, the website withstood heavy traffic. So they are ready for this year using volunteers from the Microsoft Fast Track team. There's a lot more information in the paper that you see here. You can go to customer.microsoft.com and you can find the story and read all through the solutions that they use to build a very stable Santa tracker. So another great example of using Azure services to make sure this runs efficiently. You only get one chance at Christmas Eve. So now moving now to certifications and how we've talked about the Azure capabilities. We've looked at some examples. Now, how do we then apply that to certification? And what you see here is, although our certifications are focused on technical audiences for IT pros, for developers, for data and AI pros, there is some crossover with different audiences. More than one technical audience or profession might apply for, be a good fit for a different certification. It's a good idea to review the course and exam outlines to determine the best role for you. The other thing to point out is each role includes an element of in its training and certification on security. Security is important in all of these roles. So how does Microsoft decide what certifications are needed in the market? Now, you may think that we do this on our own, just based on our own employees, but we actually work to make sure we're developing these roles so that any digital company can thrive. Our training offerings are built around your digital transformation goals, not just Microsoft's. The first step is to understand the role needed for increased technical progress and innovation, including what each employee must know and what skills they might need to have. We develop our role-based learning experiences, we perform an extensive job task analysis. So we look at all the tasks that a person might need in the role. We listen to what the market is asking for, people like yourself, and we look for support from external experts and analysts to make sure that we get it right. We align our role definition to meet industry and market needs with skills and capabilities needed for the job, including specializations, hands-on experiences, and practice requirements. This then sets the blueprint for all of our training outputs, from self-paced learning, from training events, instructor-led training using our Microsoft official courseware, and that is all aligned to the certification. This ensures that we don't have duplication within roles and that the training all works together to support a person's knowledge efforts and also certification. So what types of Microsoft certifications do we have? We switched to role-based certifications from product-based certifications about almost, I think, 2.5, 3 years ago. And this is because we heard industry and market feedback on how certifications should assess more than what you know and more should apply what you need to notice how you solve real business challenges. So we redesigned testing in order to evaluate some key performance criteria: the ability to solve problems, the ability to integrate information from multiple sources, and being able to implement solutions within the business constraints and achieve the best outcomes. So our certifications put an emphasis on demonstrating skills rather than just answering questions. So this could be performance-based labs, mapping to what people do every day, and demonstrating the use of technology. We have three types of certifications. Fundamentals, Fundamentals validates the foundational understanding with mixed concepts and applied learning of Microsoft technologies. They are the springboard into deeper role-based training and learning paths. No experience is needed to start with fundamentals. For role-based training, these focus on solutions rather than just products to validate technical skills required for the industry role, job role, that on the Microsoft platform and technology. In this area, there are multiple levels. We have associate level roles like Azure Administrator, and then we have expert roles like an architect role, which needs to look across everything. In these roles, there are cases where some business experience are helpful, and I will walk through some of those examples. We've added a third type of certification called specialty. This is where we validate deep technical skills and ability to manage industry solutions. So this could include third parties like Azure workloads for SAP, Azure for SAP workloads. And in this case, there's no multi-levels. There's not an associate level and an expert level. There's just the specialty that it's diving deep on. So if you're starting on Azure, or even if you're a cloud beginner, we recommend that you consider the Azure Fundamentals certification to validate your foundational knowledge of the cloud services. You can use this certification as preparation for other role-based certifications. Now, this isn't a requirement. Fundamental certifications are optional. So if you're already in the job, you look at the training materials and you feel that you know all of that content, you can skip this level. But if you're getting started in the AI world, for example, you won't want to miss the Azure AI Fundamentals course. Demonstrate your knowledge of common machine learning and AI workloads and how to implement them on Azure. You don't need to be a technical professional to take this exam. General programming knowledge will help, but data science and software engineering experience is not required for this certification. If you're looking to grow your cloud database expertise, if you're a developer or a data and AI pro, or even if you're just beginning to work with data in the cloud, the new Azure Data Fundamentals certification can help you prove your knowledge of core data concepts and how they're implemented using Azure Data Services. There's another fundamental certification we like to recommend, even though it's not part of the Azure portfolio. So you see that here on the bottom of the slide. We like to recommend it because it provides a good knowledge foundation for the data analyst certification or even the Azure developer certification. It's the Power Platform Fundamental certification. It validates understanding of the core capabilities of Microsoft Power Platform, including Power Apps and Power BI. As I mentioned before, all the fundamentals certifications validate foundational understanding of Microsoft technologies. So it's a great place to get started if you're new to Microsoft or new to the cloud. Now, I do want to look at the portfolio for Azure. We're committed to reviewing our certifications periodically to help ensure that they remain relevant, that they're technically accurate, and that they're assessing the skills that our customers and partners need for their organization. Our review makes sure that we're not only assessing the right skills, but also assessing only what the job needs and validating that those skills needed for the role. This allows us to have coherent portfolio with less duplication of skills and increased emphasis on what's truly important in each role. So this portfolio maintenance, we start with the job task analysis that I talked about earlier, and that's done for each certification and training path on a yearly basis. These skills are then could result in new certifications as new roles emerge, or could result in updating current certifications to stay aligned to the necessary skills for that role, or could even result in removing a certification if it's no longer needed. So as you see here, the fundamentals for Azure are at the bottom of the screen. We currently have 2 specialty roles, but I would expect more to be added in this category. So you see Azure for SAP workloads that I mentioned, and that leverages also is work done with SAP. And then Azure IoT developer is another specialty. So we could dive deep into the IoT area of skills needed. And then you see our main category certification type of role-based certification. We have a number of associate level certifications. You can find what fits your current role or your next role, and then determine what certification, what you need to study for that. And then the expert level certifications, Azure Solution Architect and DevOps Engineer are the 2 expert level. So the expert level do have requirements to have associate level before you can move on in most cases across our portfolio. I do see a question in the chat about when certifications are updated and changed, will that require a person to be recertified? It depends on how many changes there are. Typically, your certification is good for 2 years, and so that would stay consistent unless there's major changes. But that would be unusual for that. So when they're updated into the flow of that certification. When you earn your certification, it's good for 2 years. And then that is something you would then refresh at that point and catch up that knowledge. I don't see any other questions out for me right now, but we will have time for questions at the end. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Gidget Pryor to talk more through the solutions and skills and training opportunities through global knowledge.
Thank you, Debbie. So I'm Gidget Pryor, and I am the Microsoft Solutions Engineer at Global Knowledge. I primarily handle our enterprise customers, but also deal with individuals for specific learning paths. So some things that we provide in terms of our solutions, we can help you as an individual with your learning path and your learning journey. There may be several areas that you would like to learn in Azure. So maybe you need some administration, but you also need to handle some things with DevOps, or you need some data and analytics. So we can specifically lay that out for you. We also develop paths for whole organizations. Earlier this summer, I had an organization that came to me and said, we have 400 people, here's what they're currently doing, tell us what their journey should be as we move into the cloud. And so we developed that solution for them. We also can create tailored courses. So let's say that you have a group of individuals and they're using PowerShell, but specifically they're using PowerShell to manage SQL servers, and you want your focus to be on that. We can have a private delivery for you where we tailor that content. So Microsoft is very generous to us in allowing us to customize and tailor the content to suit the particular need. So we base it on their official curriculum, and then if there's some additional conversations we need to have, other things that we need to do around that, they certainly allow us to do so. We can also create custom courses. So let's say that there's something you need. So Ken asked a question on disaster recovery. There's not one specific course where that is covered, but let's say that you have a particular need and the content does not exist. We can also create that type of solution. To enhance your skills, we have a new offering, which I'm going to talk in quite a bit of detail on, called Polaris, and it is a subscription-based solution. It is subscription-based, which most of the time people think on-demand, pre-recorded type of content, whether that's something that you're reading or it is something that you are consuming by a video or a recorded session with an instructor. We have all of that in our Polaris offering. Debbie, if you'll move back just one slide for a second. The direction, thank you. All right, and then on the certification side of things, you know, skills and certification go hand in hand, but sometimes a person is more focused on the skill itself. Other times the person is really focused towards certification. So we can give you advice on the certification path. Let's say that it is your goal to become an architect, but you have no experience whatsoever in Azure. Well, that journey looks different for you than it would for the person who's been an on-premise architect for 10 years. So we can specifically guide you in that journey. We also do have exam prep days. So let's say that at the end of your AZ 104 course that your team needs to get certified. We can offer you an exam prep day to help you get ready for that, to specifically focus on how to prepare for the exam. We have exam vouchers that you can get through Global Knowledge. We do also have a few boot camps that are really focused toward certification. They are very intense learning. Usually those run from 8 in the morning to 8 at night across some number of days. A long time ago, we used to have a boot camp that was 14 days and it included both sets of weekends. I taught that class and it was a little brutal, but we got people through their certifications and it's a way to really focus your learning and prepare. In our subscription, we also do have real world hands-on labs, which are very necessary for both the person that is getting ready to skill, like you will be required as an administrator to set up a virtual machine in Azure. You need to know how to do that. We have hands-on practices for that. And they are challenges. They are increasing in their levels. So there's 3 different levels, and you get fewer and fewer instructions. On some of the Azure exams, there are simulations, and you will be required to complete a lab. It's not just a simulated environment that you're kind of, locked into an easy solution. You're opened into the Azure portal to achieve a certain goal, and these labs will help you prepare for that. Okay, Debbie, thank you. All right, so let's talk about Polaris and specifically what is part of Polaris, the different levels. If you'll go in. So there's 3 different levels, and the highest level, the level that has the most content in it, is the Polaris Discovery level. So there are over 350 instructor-led virtual live training courses for core skills. So this includes a lot of Microsoft and includes other technologies as well. At a lower level than that, there is the Polaris Accelerate. So let's say that you were specifically interested in the hands-on practices that I talked about, that you want to do some things that are on demand. You need those hands-on practices. That's the Accelerate level. And then there is the Polaris Launch, which is more on demand. These involve things that are very core skills. Like, let's say you don't really understand anything about the cloud, just cloud technologies in general. You've heard of it, but you don't know anything about it, and you would like to know, or you want to know what current IT trends are. So those types of titles would be in the Launch. These are stacked. So if you get the GK Polaris Discovery, which we strongly recommend, you will also get the Accelerate and the Launch. And we are always adding content to that. So why should you be interested in GK Polaris? I can tell you, just as a consumer of training, I'm interested in GK Polaris. So I deal almost solely with Microsoft. But occasionally I'll have someone come to me and say, well, we're currently using AWS, but we're switching to Azure, and we need to know how to make that transition. So in the Polaris offering, I have both kinds of content that I could consume. So the breadth exists in GK Polaris. So it's far beyond just a single topic like cloud or cybersecurity. It covers many different areas of technology. Expert-led live training classes for your critical skills, moving into the cloud or skilling up into the cloud, using new technologies, staying on top of all of the services that are continually added. You can have both live and on demand and on your own. So the hands-on practices, you're really on your own to work through those. You have some guidance in there, but you are really achieving the goal yourself and learning through doing. Authorized content, lots of hands-on experiential real-world learning. I was an instructor for a really long time, and I can tell you that the value of these hands-on practices it's huge. Students are required to go back to work and achieve something, and it's difficult to just take a 5-day training class and absorb everything in that training class. You might want to go back and review that, or you might want to continue to learn, or you weren't required in the past to be the person that sets up the virtual machines, but now you need to do that, and you need to understand how to implement a database in Azure. The quality, so we are very careful about looking at our customer satisfaction. We do carefully watch the Net Promoter Score, and we also have a award-winning training with 95% learner satisfaction. It's a great value for the money. It's essentially a few dollars more, literally a few dollars more than what you would pay for one class. All right, and it also addresses a lot of complex learning needs. Technology certainly has gotten more complicated. So one of the things that we've done in our Polaris offering is Microsoft is great to publish what a typical path would be for a person. So if I want to become an Azure administrator, there's a learning path for that. Or if I want to become an AI expert, there's a learning track for that. And so we have expanded beyond the scope of that to say, if we consider all of the people that might pursue this path, what value would there be for a person? So let's say that someone's a Windows administrator, they don't know anything about the cloud yet, and they want to go through a learning journey to move to Azure. They might take Cloud Fundamentals, or they might take an Azure Fundamentals class. They could just do the core set, which pretty much aligns with what Microsoft would advise. So Microsoft Learn is part of our Polaris Accelerate. Of course, you can go directly out to Microsoft Learn as well. We just have one portal that you could go to access a lot of different areas. So you might just focus on the core set, or you might need some additional understanding. You may need to know more or brush up on cybersecurity. Things have certainly changed in the security environment. So we have reinforcement, we have extension, and you can see that there are offerings for this type of person in Launch, Accelerate, and Discovery. And then we'll just look at another one of these. So let's say that you are a Windows architect and you're moving to an Azure architect. And again, you can pick and choose among this, but in Polaris, you would have all of this at your for your access. Okay, and we've made some things like, well, an architect may need to understand something about IT project management. They may need to understand something about DevOps, and they may not. So we have some things that are recommended, some things that are optional, and we realize that these will be different based on different people and their backgrounds. All right, so we are going to have a next steps in just a minute, but we wanted to offer you, thank you for attending the webinar. You can save 25% on your next course with Global Knowledge, or you could just buy Polaris, either one would be great. So for the US, it's webinar 25, and for Canada, it is CA webinar 25. Next steps, if you are interested in pursuing training with us, or if you just have questions, if you'd like some advice about how to become certified in something, you are not required to take training to become certified, but certainly it helps to do that, to have an expert in the classroom that you can ask a question to, or to see someone present in an on-demand format, how to learn that technology and how to follow in that journey. I also put my email address here. You are welcome to email me if you have specific questions or you just like to know more about what we have. So it's just gidget.prior, and it is with a Y, at globalknowledge.com. All right, so we have another webinar that is coming up on data and AI. I'm very excited about that. That is my particular area of interest in the cloud. So join us in the data and AI webinar on January 26th. Save the date, and we will see you back.
Thank you, Debbie and Gidget, for the webinar. I hope everyone enjoyed today's webinar. We do have a couple of questions. First one is Richard. He asked, I'm a security architect. Would the Azure Security Engineer cert cover everything that I'd be interested in, or would it be recommended to look into one of the expert level certs as well?
I'm sorry, my audio broke up just a little bit. Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, of course. So Richard said that he is a security architect, and his question is, would the Azure Security Engineer cert cover everything that I'd be interested in, or would it be recommended to look into one of the expert level certs as well?
It depends on what you're currently doing. I know that sounds like a the Azure Security certification and training certainly covers a lot of Azure security. There are some pieces, some components that are also in other courses. And so you might look at pursuing something like architect. And if you want to, I would love it. I would love to have a specific conversation with you, and we can look into that together. So if you just want to email me at gidget.prior@globalknowledge.com, I will be glad to talk to you specifically about what your background is and then make a recommendation for you so that it's targeted specifically to what you need.
Great, thank you, Gidget. And the last one is Deborah. She's asking, can vouchers or classes be purchased for awarding to others as an on-the-spot award?
You could, yes.
Great. Okay, so that's all for you guys. Finally, be sure to continue to visit the Global Knowledge website to access additional free courses, resources, like technical architects, articles, white papers, and webinars. And that's all for you, and thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
Okay, I hope to hear from all of you. Thank you.